Hello, ladies, and welcome to another one of our beautiful interviews. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, someone who is close to my heart and someone who I've been following for quite a number of years, actually, since I started out. And that is the gorgeous Tara Marino. Tara has lived a pretty full life already at the age of 42. She's built a seven-figure coaching business, ElegantFemme, all based on the FAM types, which is a system that helps real women live, create, and experience their beautiful life. And she did this with no prior entrepreneurial experience. So that's what we want to really get into today in this series. Tara also lived in Paris for 7 years, and currently now she is building her dream beach house in the Outer Banks of North Carolina with her husband of 16 years and their 2 boys. Tara fulfilled a lifelong dream and created a fashion line, TaraParis. She's had 2 fashion shows in Paris that received glowing reviews from the fashion press. And remarkably, she did all of this after tragically losing her firstborn son in her arms. So Tara really proves that you can overcome adversity and still live a beautiful life. Welcome, Tara. What an incredible story you have.
Grace, thank you so much for having me. And it's so interesting when you hear your bio back, you hear your life back. It's a little bit of a surreal experience to hear it. And I'm just so happy to be here. I love what you're doing. I'm so touched that you reached out. And the message that you're going to be talking about today, I feel is absolutely critical, especially for women right now, truly. So I'm happy to share.
You're the perfect candidate, Tara. So we'll get straight in with that. What this series is all about is all about helping women really see that getting started is less about having all the ducks in a row and more about following that inner wisdom. Can you share with us, how did you actually get started with initially your coaching business and then a fashion line?
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, the other reason I love this is because, you were sharing with me a little bit before we got started, the oversaturation right now of information and pressure that so many people and women especially are feeling about how to do it the right way. So much so that people are paralyzed out there. So I have a lot of women come to me that will say, how can I create an amazing brand and marketing message like you did? What about the femme types? And I have to be really, really honest. That is not how it happened for me. I didn't sit down and have a big think tank about what kind of marketing, agenda I was going to put together. My entire business was born out of necessity for myself, out of an opportunity for me to heal. As you mentioned just briefly, and we don't need to go deep into it. However, it would be out of integrity for me not to mention it because it is the start of everything. When I lost my firstborn son, Mason, I was understandably an absolute wreck. I had completely lost my identity. I didn't know who I was without him. I didn't know what I wanted. I felt completely lost. And that was the beginning of my business because I needed to heal. I needed to figure out a way to put myself back together. And so it was through that natural unfolding of me seeking and me finding answers that worked for me that other women around me started to say, what are you doing? And I just shared with them truly the femme types. I'm doing this, I'm taking care of my Frenchie, I'm taking care of my New Yorker, I'm taking care of my indie. But it was very, very organic, Grace. I didn't go out and get 17 coaching certifications. I didn't do those things. That's not how I started. And I'm not saying that there isn't value in learning how to market. And yes, there is, but that is not where I started. And when I'm teaching my clients, that's not where I recommend that they start. Every single one of us has a story, we have a message, we have life experience, and we're starting to not value the life experience as much as we are the credentials after the name. So I really truly started with just honoring my own process, creating something that worked for me, and I began to share it. Other women asked me, you're different than you were after you lost Mason, what's going on? And I started to naturally share. Even before I had a website, which I know in today's, marketing idea, it's how could you do anything without a website and a business card? But, we put up a lot of upper limits about what it is that's really required in order to get started in business.
Mhm. I love that, Tara. Yeah, there's such truth in that. And what I heard or what I picked up on there was people saw something in you. People saw the change in you. And, for me, when I'm speaking with my clients, I'm talking about what we're terming a spiritual marketing, what draws people to us. And it sounds to me like you really started to draw people in from that place of just change and truth and whatever was truly in you. So for those that are listening, that really, they are in that space where they're like really overwhelmed and they think they have to get it right. And they're not really quite believing in this opportunity for people just to step forward when you step into more of who you are. Like, what do you have to say to them? What, as an entrepreneur, what advice do you have for those women that are lost in all of that?
I love this question. And, first and foremost, from my own experience, having been able to build my business that organically and then get into the flow of the marketing world and trying then to say, okay, well, I must, maybe I'm supposed to do it the way other people are doing it because now I'm growing and my business is getting bigger and maybe I should look at what everyone else is doing. And whenever I start to do that, whenever I start to go with what I think is going to work, it doesn't work. So what I would say to the women that are finding themselves in that space of overwhelm and of trying to figure it out, that they already have evidence that something isn't working. So to stop going in that direction, to stop, okay, it's not just one more course, it's not just one more opt-in page, it's not just one more, again, there can be value in that, but you have to start with a core. You have to ask yourself, what are you excited about? You have to have that conversation with your soul. What is real to you? What is really your life experience about? One of the things we talk about with our women is that a beautiful life starts with a beautiful day. What is your most beautiful day? If you were to sit down and create for yourself the most gorgeous day, what are the pieces that excite you, that spark you, that are genuine and organic and authentic to you? Once you know what your flow is, then start to look around and see what kind of questions people are asking you naturally. Every single woman that I know is really a natural born nurturer and coach. So what are the things that inspire you, that activate you, and then start to go with what you know works for you. The femme types are so successful because they worked for me. It was a real system. It wasn't an idea that I thought, all right, this is a really cool, marketing spin. It was a real, true, organic process that worked for me. So when I shared it, it was, very easy and very real. The connection point is really missing, I think, today with all the marketing things that are going on. So again, just to recap, I would invite women to recognize that what they're doing isn't working. So stop doing more of it. Stop reaching for a more outside of what somebody else is wanting from you or what you think you're supposed to do, and get clear. What is your beautiful day? What do you really want to be experiencing in your life? Teach that.
Yeah.
Teach that. Share that. Give yourself permission to experience that which makes you feel whole on a daily basis. That to me is the foundation of any incredible business.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, Tara. And one of the things that I really picked up on all the way along your journey too is this word beauty. I mean, we're going to get on to a little bit of your fashion line, but I just love that you, and have always admired that you have put beauty first, to the point that you're even inscribing in each of your beautiful new pieces of clothing the words, I am beauty. So tell us a bit about that. Tell us about, how did this fashion line, this TaraParis, get started? How did it come about? And, your expression of beauty around it.
So this is a really, really big part of my journey, because I've got to be honest, I was afraid to stand up for beauty the way that I knew my soul was calling me. As a young girl, I was always drawn to beauty, beautiful things, beautiful atmosphere, and I felt guilty about it growing up. I felt, does this make me materialistic or high maintenance, and I couldn't figure it out. I felt really guilty about it. And when I read a quote from John Keats, which is beauty equals truth equals beauty, that's all ye on earth need to know, immediate shift for me. because I saw the essence of what beauty really is. Yes, there's an external aspect of beauty and there's an internal, but there's a truth in all of it. So that was what gave me the permission to begin to step forward into the essence of beauty the way that I have. And as far as the fashion line, you know, for me, there's so much in the world about the internal beauty, which is what we've done inside of ElegantFemme from the beginning. I think that the quality of beauty, of women gifting themselves permission to experience beauty externally, has slipped away. You know, we're in this kind of mass consumption society in so many ways of more is better. And I wanted to create inside of my clothing the essence of permission, of courage, of visibility, of quality. And for me, that's what beauty is. So you're right. I have this, I am beauty is now stitched into every piece of our clothing. And so whenever I have a vision of wanting to do something, which I have to tell you, the idea of becoming a fashion designer seemed so far-fetched for a little girl who grew up in Julian, California, you know, caught the bus on dirt roads, really my story. I thought, well, what would I feel like I required in order to do that? I didn't know anything about the fashion industry except that I loved it. So I did go to fashion school. And from there, the biggest part of all of that, however, was starting to talk about my dream and my vision. And I wanted to bring the femme types to life. And so I became very visible inside of my message. So I wasn't hiding behind the books, trying to figure it out, trying to design on my own. I asked for help. I had very, very beautiful people step forward in the fashion industry who had 30, 40, 50 years of experience that saw our message, saw that we were doing something different and wanted to support us, and gasp, I let them help me. You know, this is a really big thing. We don't have to do it by ourselves. So I had experts that have been in the industry for a really long time step up, and I stepped out, and we've sourced our clothes now in Italy and France. And it's incredible seeing something that you've created and dreamed of and sketched be brought to life. And so I gave myself a higher level of permission, Grace. You know, and I think that's something that is so easy to get stuck in. I didn't wait for somebody to deem me worthy of being a fashion designer. There was something in my heart that I wanted to express. And for me, that was the only permission that I needed. And I think that that's actually one of the reasons why so many women get stuck behind the marketing, behind the courses, behind the letters, because somehow there's a false idea that that will bring forward the worthiness. And it doesn't. Can it help with confidence? Yes, certainly, you know, if you're perfecting your craft. But again, that's secondary. You know, the real permission, the idea that your soul wants to express something, and then giving yourself permission to express that. To me, that's why we're here. So whether it's fashion or beauty or online business or yoga or dog sitting, what does your soul want to express? You know, we're all imprinted and impressed upon with a curriculum. And you know you're close when it gets really scary. You know you're close when you think, what are people going to think of me if I do this? That's when you know you're close. And I'll tell you, and I know you've had this experience, because once you say yes to that and you deem yourself worthy, everything in your life changes. And that's where you feel that allure. That's when people are drawn to you. You're not trying to impress them. Right? You're in that deeper conversation with your soul that I'm here to express this, to experience this. And that's the other thing I would leave your audience with. You know, what are you longing to experience? I wanted to know myself as a fashion designer. It wasn't just a check off the list of things to do from the New Yorker perspective. It was really the experience of knowing myself that way. So ask, if you're listening, you know, ask yourself that question. What is my soul seeking to experience? That will be your foundation. That will be your marketing plan. That will be your brand, your message, your essence.
Yeah, so true, Tara, so true. It's such a huge thing though when we look from the outside. You know, we see you as an incredibly successful coach, now an incredibly successful woman designing her clothes and fashion designing. And sometimes for women, as they're looking, certainly this has been true for those that have spoken to me, they can almost feel a little intimidated or shy and start to go into that comparison. Oh, well, it's okay for Tara, it's okay for whoever, you know, but not for me. What do you say to those that step forward with that sort of thinking, that insecure thinking that often pops up, rather than answering the question on what the soul is calling for?
Absolutely. And you know, all of us can go there. You know, there's always a next level, right? I can look at Victoria Beckham and think, okay, she can do that, but I can't do that. You know, there's always that piece. And so, you know, to feel this inside of yourself and to really honor it, first and foremost, it is a distraction. As soon as we start comparing ourselves to somebody else, it's a way for us to step outside of our truth. And we might not recognize it when we're doing it. We might, you know, think, oh, this will help me. This is going to be good research. I just want to see what she's doing. It's just a diversion technique. It's a stalling technique. It's a space, you know, a distance technique from giving yourself permission to really experience what it is you want. I'm not any different from anybody else. I still get scared. I still have doubts. I still get criticized. I'm still afraid of rejection. I mean, all of those pieces are still real for me. It's what we do inside of that space. You know, what is more important to any of us? Is it playing it very, very safe because we're afraid of being rejected from somebody else, or recognizing that if we don't step into our truth, we're actually rejecting ourselves? So regardless of what anybody else in the world is doing, it doesn't matter. It really, truly doesn't matter. Because until you step into your flow and your essence, you're always going to feel a separateness and a distance from your soul. So from the comparison, you know, it's very easy to say, well, just stop. One of the things you can do is you can actually look at it from a source of inspiration. And I have a whole process called the Femme Chateau. So when I step into jealousy or envy or any of those other comparison things that come up for so many of us, I look at what is that person really embodying that I actually want to experience. So really using it as a tool, using it as motivation. But, you know, the other thing that's happened for me over the years, Grace, because I did go through a period, especially early on, where I was not only comparing a lot, but very afraid of being copied, very afraid of someone taking my brand or because it happens. It does happen as you start to grow. That starts to happen. And one of the things that I've really made peace with is that, and it sounds so silly and so cliche, but this is deep inside of me now, no one can do Tara like I can do Tara. And no one can do Grace like you can do Grace. So if you're listening and you're in that space of thinking whoever, no one can do you. Really, really, truly, no one can do you. And wouldn't it be a shame if you got to the end of your life and you really didn't do you? Mm-hmm. To me, that would be really the biggest tragedy. And I say that. I think the biggest tragedy, is a wasted life. You know, really. There's no other type of freedom than stepping into the flow of who you are and recognizing that you are an expression of God. You are an expression of beauty that nobody else can assimilate. They can try, but they really can't. And if you can feel that inside of your soul, and you get to that point where you say, oh my God, I chose me. Like I chose to be this. There's a reason for that. So I would invite every woman to start there. The recognition that you chose this body. This is my belief. You chose this body, this lifetime, this experience. That's the opportunity. That's the opportunity in everything. Choose you. Remember you chose you. Do you.
So uplifting, Tara. So uplifting. Tell us then, you talk about flow. So what about those women that are asking, well, how do I step into this flow. Tara's talking about flow a lot, and we love that conversation. What is your process or your direction around stepping into flow?
Yeah, so I just mentioned briefly, and so did you, the fem types. The fem type was the system I created after I lost Mason, and it's based on the three aspects of what we have inside of ourselves already: the Frenchie, the Indie, and the New Yorker. The Indie being the being side, the side that is connected with your self-worth, your inner knowing, that place that actually everything starts. So if you're in the space of wanting to create a business and you're going into what we call the New Yorker energy, you're actually missing the point of actually being in business. So everything starts with the Indie. Then we move into the Frenchie energy, which is enjoyment and pleasure, relationships, body image, knowing what pleases you inside of your life. And then we have the New Yorker, which is taking aligned action based on the Indie and the Frenchie. So the reason I bring that forward is because this is actually the flow of my day. So I start my day in Indie energy, then move to Frenchie energy, then to New Yorker energy, and then move from New Yorker to Frenchie to Indie. And that is the flow of my day. Because if I wake up in New Yorker energy, right, and grab the iPhone, like so many people do, you're missing that grounded, connected opportunity to be in your flow. The flow starts with your connection with source, your connection with your inner knowing. Everybody knows that. I think that's a given. But what people don't do, and what women, both women and men don't do, is they don't give themselves the opportunity first thing in the day to connect with that energy. So my flow follows the natural rhythm for a woman. I start off with my meditation, with my lemon tea. I start off with, setting my intention for the day. And then I'll move into Frenchie energy, which for me includes yoga. It includes making breakfast for my boys because I love to cook and I love to just play with design on the plate. And then I'll move into my New Yorker space, which obviously is the business. Then after, have to close the computer. No cheating and opening up the computer after dinner. This pulls you back into a different space. So just really following that natural organic flow sets us up to feel in sync with our day, in sync with our rhythm, and on purpose. When you're in the flow, you feel on purpose.
You do, yeah. And I am going to include a link for everyone so that they can actually take your fam type quiz, because it's such a great quiz and such a great way to be in flow. So yes, that's perfect, Tara. I love what you're saying. And I've often, I think very naturally in giving up my day job as a teacher, ended up being able to tap into what you're describing. But it is a conscious choice as well. It is a very conscious choice because we're so easily distracted now. And, there's a ping every 2 seconds unless we turn off the gadgets.
Absolutely right. It is a conscious choice. And, that's another thing to maybe share with your audience, in that when we experience contrast, when we experience something other than the flow, instead of judging ourselves, instead of getting mad at ourselves, instead of going into kind of that dense place, just recognize that it's contrast. Contrast is so powerful for all of us. When you experience something you don't want, it's a beautiful reminder of, oh, that's right. That actually doesn't serve me. So the days when it's not completely in the flow for me and I skip something, or, oh my gosh, I didn't do the daily email, or something gets out of sync for me, there's an immediate reaction inside. And instead of going, oh, what's wrong with me? I made a mistake. It's really like, wow, that contrast was so serving. So if you're a woman that's in business right now and you are struggling and you are wondering what next marketing move to make, or you just had a launch or something and it didn't go the way you want, see that as the contrast. See that as valuable to you, and just take that and move into what it is you truly do desire. What would be the representation of your beautiful life if it's not that? So utilizing everything for value is one of the ways that we really increase our ability to receive.
Yeah. And what is your idea of a beautiful life, Tara? Of course, it's very individual, but for you, what's currently on your mind for a beautiful life?
I love this question, Grace, because it certainly has shifted, and it actually took a lot of courage to allow it to shift. I was living a very glamorous high style life in Paris, and my soul was really seeking to experience something different. And so currently right now, we are building a beach house in North Carolina. And there's something really intrinsic for me about being near the water, about hearing the birds. I mean, I was just out on a walk earlier today, and there's just something so intimate for me right now in my life about connecting with nature and simplicity and slowing down and just really observing life from a new perspective. I adore Paris. I just got back a few days ago. I love it there. But there's something inside of me that's really craving the both inside my beautiful life. I've stepped away a lot from image, from identity, from who maybe I thought I needed to be, and really settling into a calm, an inner knowing, a less planning, if you can believe it. I love desires and I'm always big on visions, but right now in my life, there's part of my beautiful expression is really about leaving a lot of space for spirit. A lot more than I'm even comfortable with. So not knowing exactly if I'm going to be doing our creme program next year, or the big things that I've been in a lot of a cycle with, just really stepping back and allowing a lot more room for spirit. So currently that's the expression of my beautiful life at this point.
I love that. Yeah, so much good to come from the spaciousness.
Yes, and my book. I have to just articulate that.
Tell us about that.
It was going to slip away if I didn't honor it inside.
Yeah.
I did write a book, and it was so much different than I thought it was going to be. So much different. It's an incredible, deep, deep love story. And so I want to be publishing that this year. So that's in the other expression of my beautiful life, giving space for that to be born.
I love it, Tara. Oh, I can't wait to hear more about the book. Fab. Now, as a final question, you've always struck me as someone with a very high level of self-care and self-appreciation. What can you say to, well, first of all, is that something that you foster, or does it come natural? And what can you say to those women out there that really maybe aren't at that particular point where they're taking care of themselves as much as they could be?
Yeah. This is an interesting question for me, because I would say it definitely is something I foster. It's not, and at the same time, it is something that comes naturally. I do want to feel good in my body. I want to feel good in my life. And that does take intention and attention units in order to do that. So I do have a regime in the morning. I do have certain things that I do for my body that I'm committed to. I'm really committed to, because I feel the difference if I don't. You know, now being just turned 42, which just feels like really different than 40 to me. It feels like a lifetime of difference. And so what I would share with women is, you know, we've all heard that taking care of yourself allows you the opportunity to take care of others. We know that. But I think that becomes so cliche that we really lose the connection of honoring ourselves. When we slow down and we care for ourselves, for our bodies, to me, we're connecting with spirit. We are really honoring the physical form in a way that allows us to be more of service, to give back, to cherish. You know, I don't want to go fully into this, but just I think it's important to mention I had another miscarriage at the beginning of January, and this was after a very long IVF cycle. And the reason I bring that forward is because my awareness of life completely shifted. What it actually takes for us to be here is extraordinary. So that any of us are even here is beyond a miracle. So when you take care of yourself, you're honoring that miracle. You're slowing down to pay attention to the gift of creation that you've been given. And so if we avoid that, if we ignore that, if we don't take care of it, in my feeling, it's not honoring the gift that we were given. So it's not selfish. It's not high maintenance. It's not materialistic or any of those other kind of judgments that we could come up with. it's really a way to honor yourself, to honor your soul, and to honor the gift that you've been given.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Wow. Incredible. I'm sure that anyone listening will feel as inspired and uplifted as I currently do, Tara. It's always an absolute pleasure and joy to just be around you and hear where you're at and what you've created. So thank you so much for speaking from the soul. And for those women that are listening, you know, we have a TaraParis below. We've got a beautiful code for those of you that want to check out Tara's fashion line. I know for me, traveling, airplanes, all of that, being in different cities at different times for events, I love the look of what's available from your fashion line, Tara. So I'm definitely going to go over there. And also just a big thank you. Thank you for creating the femme types for us, and thank you for taking a stand for your dreams and your beautiful life. It's been an honor to interview you today.
Thank you so much, Grace. And I do want to, let women know it is really easy to see someone where they are now and forget what we've all had to go through. So inside of the femme types, I really do encourage women to take the quiz, because there are simple things that you can do now. It's maybe not about the fashion line for you, or maybe it is someday, but right now, a beautiful life starts with a beautiful day. So gifting yourself the opportunity for those small macro movements inside of real life is really what we stand for. So I really, truly, with all my heart and love, just want women to know that they have this gift of life to experience the truth of who they are. And we make it harder than it has to be. We make it more complex than it has to be. So I'm sending forward just a lot of grace and elegance and ease to every woman listening, and courage that she steps forward into the truth of who she is.
Yeah, gorgeous. Thank you, Tara. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.